Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Tishe Namaha Nityanandam Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalamashanashaya Janavapataye Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Suruto Pangor Mamamanda Matergati Matsarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratanagar Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Preshta Libhi Sevyamano Smarami Srimad Rasarasarambi Vamshivata Tatakstitaha Karshana Venu Swanayir Gopir Gopinata Shriyestunaha Brindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasyacha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare I offer my unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Ashto Tarasata Shri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I am offering my same unlimited Dandavat pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Shri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Shri Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I offer my Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. And I offer my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. Sri Vilapa-kusumanjali by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami Maharaj. So we completed Gurudev's commentary on the second verse of Vilapa-kusumanjali. So now we are moving on to the third verse. Is the light okay for you? Yeah. Blinding?
No.
Okay. Vrajendra vasati stale vividha ballavi sankule tvam eva ratimanjari prachura punya punjodaya. That's your phone. Something. Vilasa bharavishmrita pranayi mekala margane yad adya nijanataya vrajasi natita kandaram. Still, voice coming. Rajendra vasati stale vividha ballavi sankule tvam eva ratimanjari prachura punya punjodaya. Vilasa bharavishmrita pranayi mekala margane yad adya nijanataya vrajasi natita kandaram. Translation. It's still. Are you here? Hold it up to your ear.
I did.
Are you hearing voices?
Now I am,
Yeah.
She's with Shikandi, I thought.
She's on another phone talking to somebody?
No.
Oh. Well, where are the voices coming from?
I think there's two people listening, but instead of just listening, they're talking.
You mean two people listening on this phone? Oh. Well, you should call her and tell her that we can hear them talking.
Well, hopefully they've
Please
just heard
don't talk. We are hearing you talking. Nischinta Didi and whoever else is your compatriot. Yes, we're hearing your voice. She's saying something.
You're hearing us so much better than mine.
Well, I'm right next to her. You talk to her, because she was responding to what I just said.
Oh, you were?
Huh?
Oh, she's putting it on mute.
Okay. Okay. In this world, always some obstacle, isn't it? No matter what you try to do.
Yeah, I find it, when it's just a material observation, I find it interesting. Actually, I won't hear.
All right. Here's the translation of the verse 3. O Rati Manjari, in the king of Vraja's city, what is that ringing going on in the kitchen? What in the world is that?
Popcorn.
Popcorn. Oh, it's the popcorn hitting the top. Okay. So, translation. O Rati Manjari, in the king of Braja's city, where many gopis live, you are the most pious of all. Who is? Rati Manjari. O Rati Manjari, in the king of Braja's city, where many gopis live, you are the most pious of all. That is why you are now going to a cave requested by your queen to search for the favorite sash of bells she forgot in the midst of many pastimes. Srila Gurudev's commentary. A brief word-for-word meaning is now given for this third verse. First, Vrajendra Vasati Stale. Vrajendra Vasati Stale. It means in Braja. Braje Vasati Stale. In Braja. Then Vividha Ballavi Sankule. First line. Ballavi is the feminine gender of Ballabha, meaning Gopa. And therefore, Ballabhi or Ballavi means Gopi. Vividha means so many. Rajendra Vasati Stale Vividha Ballavi Sankule. Although there are so many gopis in Braja, O Rati Manjari, Tvam Eva, only you are the Prachura Punya Punjodaya. That means you have great punya or sukriti. Your sukriti is like a mountain in comparison to that of the other Vrajagopis. Why? Yad means the cause is this, and Adya means today. So, Vilasa Bharavishmrita Pranai Mekala Margane. Mekala is the word that we're familiar with. That's the waist belt. Mekala. So, today, this means, today, the Ishwari of Braja, Srimati Radhika, while absorbed in playing with Krishna in Vilas, has forgotten her Pranai Mekala, her favorite golden waist belt. Mekala means the belt that binds the skirt so that it will not fall, and this belt is made of gold. Pranai, actually the Mekala is made of praying. It serves as a link between Krishna and Radhika, and therefore Krishna loves it. He always keeps his eyes upon Srimati's Mekala, eager to touch and to untie it. Radhika has forgotten her Mekala in the Vilasa Kunja and now realizes that it is not on her waist. Nija Nataya. Here, Nija means your, and Nata means Ishwari or Aradhya Devi, meaning your Aradhya Devi, Srimati Radhika, has asked you to bring the Mekala. Natita means told you. She has told only you to bring it. Who told who?
Rupa to Rati.
Huh?
To bring the
Who told?
Radha
To
Rati.
Rati Manjari. We still have not found out who's speaking in this verse. Who's speaking to Rati Manjari? All right, that'll come. So, your Aradhya Devi, Srimati Radhika, has asked you to bring the Mekala. Natita means told you. She has told only you to bring it. No one besides Rati Manjari knows that Srimati has forgotten it. So, now Rati Manjari is going to have to do something quite amazing, that she brings it so that no one notices. And no one notices that Srimati Radhika doesn't have it on. So Srimati Radhika has cleverly told her, bring it. No one should know about this, so bring it stealthily. Sri Rupa Manjari, however, also knows of this. The first 3 shlokas of Vilapa-kusumanjali are of what is called Swarup Siddha Bhav, when Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was absorbed in his Siddha Deha. These slokas that we've just read are in that bhav. So he has forgotten everything of his external body, and thinking that I am Raghunath Das, he has forgotten that. He has forgotten everything of his external body, and also thinking I am Raghunath Das. He has forgotten all that. In the first verse, he offered pranam to his Sakhi. In the second verse, to his Ishta Devi. And now, in this third verse, he has included words spoken not by himself, but by Rupa Manjari. These words were given as an ashirvad, a blessing upon Rati Manjari. So in his Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj has employed a similar device by his use of Srila Rupa Goswami's Anarpita Charinchirat verse as the 4th verse of his own Mangala Charanam. Understand this point? So this verse, Anarpita Charinchirat, the one written by Rupa Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is using that verse in the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita as an introductory verse. So he's employing that similar device to what Raghunath Das Goswami in his internal mood is employing the same kind of device by actually quoting Rupa Manjari. Okay, so Rupa Manjari is actually speaking this verse to Rati Manjari. So, the opening 3 verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj, those opening 3 verses are by him. But then the 4th verse, Anarpita Chirim Chirat verse, is from Vidagdha Madhava of Srila Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is the instructing guru of Krishnadas Kaviraj. Kaviraj Goswami saw that Rupa Goswami has offered this prayer to his Ishtadev, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Krishnadas Kaviraj is a disciple of Rupa Goswami, and he saw that Rupa Goswami has offered this verse to his Ishtadeva, who is none other than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he has offered it as an Ashirvad Atmaka. That means a benediction of the Lord upon all the world. Because at the end of the verse, what does he say? And in that 4th line of that verse, Ticharim Shirat Kuruna Avatirana Kalo, Samarpaitum Unatojala Rasam Sabakti, Hari Purata Sundara Dyuti Kadamba Sandipita, Sada Hridaya Kandare Spuratu Va Sachinandanaha. Here, Rupa Goswami is offering a benediction to all, the whole world. May that Lord be situated in the core of your hearts. You see? Because he says, Spuratu Va. Va means to you, in plural, to you all. It means all the readers who are reading this and hearing this. So, in this prayer, he is begging Mahaprabhu's mercy for all jivas in general, and especially for those who have a special desire for the mercy of Krishna in his form as Rasaraj Mahabhav Swarup. So, yes, he's begging Mahaprabhu's mercy for all the jivas in general, but especially for those who have a special desire for the mercy of Krishna in his form as Rasaraj Mahabhav Swarup, combination of Radha and Krishna. And that is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So thinking that no one else can write like his guru, and feeling that I cannot express an idea like this, Krishnadas Kaviraj has included Rupa Goswami's shloka as it is. One may think it is by Krishnadas Kaviraj, but it is in fact by Rupa Goswami. So in this way, Krishnadas Kaviraj has accomplished two objectives. He has offered pranam both to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written in his book Sharanagati the following. We know this verse. We sing this song almost every day. Shad anga sharanagati hoy vejahar tahara prartana shune Sri Nanda Kumar. Does that sound familiar? You know the Sharanagati song. It's sung most mornings. And it begins with Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kori Swaparshada Swiyadama Saha Avatari. So in this song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling that out of his causeless mercy, having mercy upon the jivas, wanting to give mercy to the jivas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, along with his dham, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kori Swaparshada Sviyadama Saha Avatari. Swaparshada means with his associates, his parshadas. And Sviyadama means his very own abode. So Saparshada Sviyadama Saha, along with them, Avatari, he has descended. Then in the second verse of that song, he says, Atyanta Durlabha Prema Kori Baridan. So, what did he descend for? What did he want to give? Kori Baridan means to give. He wanted to give Atyanta Durlabha Prema. That means extremely. Atyanta means extremely. And Durlabha means rare. Extremely rare prema. So he's saying, Atyanta Durlabha Prema Kori Baridan, in order to give this extremely rare prema, what did Mahaprabhu do? Shikaye. He taught. He gave shiksha on what? Sharanagati. On the process of surrender, of Sharanagati, which is Bhakatera Pran, which is the very pran, the very life of the devotees. So what Gurudev is saying here is that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written in his book Sharanagati, Sad Anga Sharanagati Hoive Jahar Tahara Prartana Shune Sri Nanda Kumar. So what does this mean? Here, Shad Anga Sharanagati. Shad Anga Sharanagati means the 6 limbs. Sad Anga means the 6 limbs of Sharanagati, which he's describing in this song. So after he describes those 6 limbs, then he says, Shad Anga Sharanagati Bhakatera Pran. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Ki Jai. So he's saying, Sharanga Sharanagati Hoibe Jahar, anyone, that person, that Jahar means that person. So Shad Anga Sharanagati, that person who follows this process of the 6 limbs of Sharanagati, what will be the result for that person? Then he says, Tahara, his Tahara prarthana, his prayers, the prayers of that person who does these 6 limbs of Sharanagati, Tahara prarthana shune, Sri Nanda Kumar. Sri Nanda Kumar is Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, right? And what is it saying here? He will hear the prayers of that person. This is a very important verse, because if one is not surrendered, Krishna is not directly hearing. But when one is surrendered, he's directly hearing. That's why he said his name, Sri Nanda Kumar. Otherwise, the agency of Paramatma and so forth are there for ones who are praying. I mean, even Christians are praying to God, okay? But unless someone is surrendered, Krishna will not directly hear their prayers. But one who is, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, Krishna directly hears. So, how is Gurudev using this? Gurudev is saying, Nanda Kumar, that person, Nanda Kumar, the son of Nanda Maharaj, he will not hear our prayers, but he is bound to hear the prayers of those who have offered themselves at his feet in Sharanagati. That's why surrender is so important. You can go on for lifetimes, praying. But until you are surrendered, Krishna will not directly hear your prayers. But when you are surrendered, then Krishna, he has to hear. He wants to hear.
What level of surrender is he talking about? Like a pure devotee?
Well, here's the thing. It's a good question. Because we know that from the very beginning of our attempting to come onto the path of bhakti, there is some shraddha, right? There's some faith. Otherwise, we can't start the process. This process has to start with shraddha. Ado shraddha. Rupa Goswami writes that in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Ado shraddha. He's telling the different stages. Ado shraddha tatak sadhu sangha. And then there is sadhu sangha. Then, no, I'm thinking of the actual Sanskrit in the verse. Ado shraddha tatak sadhu sangha ta bhajana kriya. So in the sadhu sangha, then bhajana kriya begins. What is bhajana kriya? Who can say? What is bhajan kriya?
Activities of devotion.
The process.
Yeah. Bhajan kriya means applying the 9 processes of bhakti, but also the 64 limbs of bhakti, practicing, right? That under the guidance of sadhus, Sri Guru. So that's called bhajana kriya. So we all came into the association and we started performing bhajana kriya even in our infantile stage, right? Because that's who we were living with. We were living and we followed a schedule of bhajana kriya. And what happened as a result of that is the next installment is called Anartana Vritti, which actually goes on over a long period. It goes on over a long period. But the Anartana Vritti is taking place because of bhajana kriya. If someone is not doing bhajan kriya, their anartas will remain. But bhajana kriya is cleansing. Like we were quoting the verse, Srinvatam Sokata Krishna, and that verse that we always used to chant, Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu, before class. Remember that? We used to chant that verse, Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki. So that is explaining in that very verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that first of all, Srinvatam Swakata Krishna, hearing Krishna Katha. And then Hridi Antaksto Abhadrani, all the abhadras, all the inauspicious things, Krishna himself, who is the well-wishing friend of the devotee, he begins to cleanse, right? So that cleansing process begins. Then the next verse is saying, Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. Nashta means destroyed. And prayeshu means almost. Not fully. Prayeshu means almost. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Because one is doing nityam, regularly, all the time, 24 hours a day, nityam bhagavata sevaya. And bhagavata sevaya has two parts. You know that? What are the two parts of bhagavata sevaya?
Bhagavat and the person.
Huh?
Hearing and chanting?
No.
Yes, serving the book Bhagavat and the
Yes.
person Bhagavat.
Two. There's two bhagavats. This is also pointed out toward the end of the first chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The end of the first chapter, it's saying, Dui Bhagavat. And there, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining about Nitai Gauranga. Because there's an early verse describing how Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya have descended on the horizon of Gauda Desh to bless everyone's heart. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami begins to say, what form does that blessing take? That blessing of Gaur Nitai descending, right? The form is that that person can meet the two types of Bhagavats. That is caused by the mercy of Gaur Nitai. Okay? So, in that verse when it says Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, it means serving the person Bhagavat and the book Bhagavat. It means hearing the book, preaching, everything, right? So, by that performance, then what happens is Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Naishtiki is the word Nishta. Nishta, we know, means firmly fixed, right? So that brings one to the stage of Nishta. And in the stage of Nishta, many of the anarthas are already dealt with. They're already eradicated. Not all. They're eradicated. So what is going on through this process? Our Sharanagati is also developing. Because you cannot enter, like Gurudev explained, the house of bhakti unless you go through the door. And what is the door? Sharanagati. You see? So on one side, Sharanagati is not directly bhakti. But Sharanagati is the doorway to enter bhakti. You've heard Gurudev say that, right? You have to think about that. It's not directly bhakti, but it's the doorway to enter. But that doorway to enter, Sharanagati, surrender, it has six limbs. One of the limbs is accepting everything favorable. One of the limbs is rejecting everything unfavorable. So if someone begins to do that, then that leads you into bhakti, because what are the limbs? I mean, everything favorable is the 64 limbs, and everything unfavorable is so many other sinful activities or offenses or whatever, right? So that's why Rupa Goswami has written 64 offenses as well. So this is called bhajana kriya. And as we're doing that, according to our level of sincerity, I mean, everything is being fueled by sincerity, and humility, because humility is one of the limbs of surrender, of Sharanagati. And then also embracing Krishna as our guardian, as our maintainer, and considering Krishna to be our only protector, right? And also Atma Nivedanam, surrender of the Atma. And the Atma means body, mind, words, Atma, everything, right? So, in this way, surrender is intensifying, and bhakti is also developing more and more, right? So in this way, then gradually Krishna becomes more and more attractive to that devotee's his mood of developing the moods of surrender, right? So then Krishna begins to hear. So
This is a question. The two points of accepting Krishna as one's only protector and one's only maintainer. you say that that means giving up all fear.
Yeah, for sure. If one is truly embracing, right? And this also requires that realization will gradually come. Why don't you hold that on your lap or something so we don't have to keep on. The fear element arises from one particular thing. Fear arises from what? I explained this verse in one class. Bhayam means fear. Dvitya abhiniveshata syat.
From
Fear.
Giving our back to God.
What?
Giving our back to God, like not
No.
Identifying with the body.
identifying.
No. Bhayam dvitya. Dvitya means duality. It comes from the word dva, which means two. Okay? Bhayam dvitya abhiniveshata syat. What he just said is somewhat correct. Abhiniveshata means to be averse to, right? Abhiniveshata syat. So the fear arises when someone becomes absorbed in duality. What does that mean? To become absorbed in duality. We always generally think that duality means the opposites of this world, right? Cold, heat, happiness, distress. We think of that as duality, and it is in that category. But the actual duality, here's the big one. When we see that there are two separate entities, meaning there's Krishna and there's something besides Krishna, then we become absorbed in duality. In other words, there is only Krishna. Everything that exists is Krishna. It's his energy. He's the supreme controller. He's in every atomic particle. There is only Krishna. The pure devotees, they realize that fact. Therefore, they have no fear at all. No fear whatsoever. It cannot arise. It only arises from illusion and duality. So in that verse, Bhayam dvitiya viniveshata syat ishad apetasya viparyayo asmriti. In the second line it's saying, asmriti means forgetfulness. Forgetfulness. Smriti means to remember and asmriti means to forget. So viparyaya means reversal. Viparyaya means our normal condition is to see that Krishna is everything. That's the normal, pure consciousness of the jiva. But when the jiva becomes absorbed in duality because of his desire to turn away from Krishna, then fear automatically arises. You see, fear automatically arises. So what is the antidote for this forgetful condition? Well, in the verse it's talking about Gurudeva Tatma. This is the Gurudeva Tatma verse of the 11th canto, right? But in relation to what you're saying, when someone can fully, in full acceptance, accept Krishna as my guardian. This is what Srila Sridhar Maharaj has explained, you know. Fully embracing the guardianship of Krishna. He is my maintainer. He is like this. And Raksha. He is my protector. No one can protect. Only him. Then what happens? Then there is no fear. There is no fear. Fear and apprehension come when someone doesn't know what is going to happen, you know. Then there's a lot of fear. But when somebody knows absolutely that Krishna is my guardian, my protector, if he wants me to die, I'll die. If he wants me to live, I'll live. Prahlad Maharaj was demonstrating that, right? He demonstrated that in a very extreme situation where his own demonic father is trying to kill him. So, the topic of surrender is a very broad topic. That's why Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj wrote the book called Prapanna Jivanamrita, translated into English. And it's got all the different shlokas he collected together to understand very deeply each one of these 6 limbs. And Prabhupada told the devotees in Bombay, probably around 1976 or so, when he was sitting on the rooftop and giving a darshan. We've seen photos of Prabhupada without a shirt, without a kurta, and he's sitting with the big white bolsters. And he told the devotees that my god brother, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, has written a book called Prapanna Jivanamrita, wherein he has discussed and described very, very broadly these 6 limbs of surrender. You should all read that book. Prabhupada was saying that before it was even translated into English. That's Akoyananda Swami. He told us that he was there in that darshan. And Prabhupada, first of all, asked them, can any one of you, can you say, what are the 6 limbs of surrender? And he raised his hand. And he said, I was so confident that I'm scholarly, I can say them. But he said 5 of them, and he couldn't remember the 6th. And then Prabhupada said, and humility. So he was kind of put in his place at that time, you see. So, but that's when he told about that book and that he should read it. And what he did was, shortly after that, he found himself, I think it was around 1980, around 79 or 80, when he came to Navadvipa and he went to the ashram of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And now he was kind of like leaving the institution of ISKCON. And then he was living in the mutt. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he asked him, is there some service that I can do for you? Akoyananda asked to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He said, yes, I have one manuscript. It needs to be typed out so that we can gradually print it and so forth. And he said, yes, I can type. So the next day he got the typewriter and he's sitting there and he puts the manuscript in front of him, and the manuscript, the title, Prapanna Jivanamrita. And he thought, this is the book that Prabhupada told me to read, and now I'm actually doing seva to the book. The other thing is that Srila Prabhupada's sister, we called her Pishima, actually her name is Bhavatarani, and she donated from her household life. She donated money to help to print that book. Yeah. So, a little bit of a sidestepping here. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written in his book Sharanagati, he has written these words, Sad Anga Sharanagati Hoibe Jahar, Tahar Prarthana Shune Shri Nanda Kumar. That means that Nanda Kumar will not hear our prayers, but he is bound to hear the prayers of those who have offered themselves at his feet in Sharanagati. And hearing their prarthana means hearing their prayers, he responds accordingly, right? Because Krishna says that in the Gita, according to their surrender to me, right? What's that verse? Ye yata mam prapadyante. That means according to their prapadya, which means surrender. Tams tataiva bhajami aham. I reciprocate with them. So, accordingly, Gurudev says. And hearing their prarthana, he responds accordingly. So Krishna Das, Kaviraj Goswami, he is therefore thinking, oh, Krishna or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may not hear my prayer, but he is bound to hear the prayer of Srila Rupa Goswami. And that's why he included this as the 3rd verse So in explaining the second shloka, we have described how Rupa Manjari called Rati Manjari in the second shloka. What Rupa Manjari called Rati Manjari, and she said, "Come here, see what a beautiful pastime is going on." Then both looked through the latticed creepers of Vilas Kunj, and they saw that pastime. And when it was over, Swamini, Srimati Radhika, hinted to the Manjaris. They then entered, and they served both Krishna and Radhika. Then Radhika instructed Krishna, "Decorate me." Then Krishna told the Manjaris, "Bring kumkum, chandan, and all the paraphernalia." Krishna told to the Manjaris. Then first Krishna took a comb from Lavanga Manjari and began to comb Radhika's hair very softly. Who is Lavanga Manjari? Sanatana Goswami. That's his eternal name. So Krishna took a comb from Lavanga Manjari and began to comb Radhika's hair very softly. He then braided it, decorated the braid, and bound it very beautifully with flowers. Next, he told Rupa Manjari, "Bring Anjana." You know what Anjana is? Kajal, the black ointment. She brought it. Who brought it? Rupa Manjari. She brought it and gave it to Krishna, and he applied it to Srimati Radhika's eyes. He also called other Manjaris, including Rati Manjari. They supplied all necessary items, and Krishna fully decorated Srimati Radhika. Now, during this time, only the Manjaris were there, not others. Srimati Radhika remembered Lalita and Vishaka, and then she asked, "Are they not here?" Then, leaving Krishna with a few Manjaris, she went out and saw Lalita, Vishaka, and all the other Priya Narmasakis. Then, sitting down in their midst, she began to describe her pastime with Krishna. Krishna was not at all happy to be alone, because she just left him with the Manjaris. Krishna was not at all happy to be alone, but Radhika sat very pleasantly outside with all her Sakis, leaving Krishna there. This was one type of pastime to please Krishna. Not for the present, when Krishna was alone, but for the future when he will join them. So she already was performing a pastime. And she was arranging a special program for him. He gets his, what you call, walking orders from Radhika. Right? So after some time, Krishna could not tolerate being left alone. He began to search for the Sakis, and at last he reached their assembly. Then, seeing him there, all the gopis began to laugh and joke with him. One Saki arranged to seat him, not at the right of Srimati Radhika, but at her lotus feet. And Krishna became very satisfied. Radhika ordered all the Sakis to please Krishna by dancing and joking with him. Then, to the accompaniment of various types of musical instruments, such as kol, kartal, jhampa, and so on, they began to dance along with Radhika. The gopis had very thin waists, and while they danced, it seemed as if their waists would break in two. They danced very swiftly and very beautifully, and they performed kirtan at the same time. So in appreciation, Krishna responded by calling out, "Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu," which means what?
Excellent.
Excellent, excellent. Srimati Radhika became somewhat fatigued. When she sat down, she noticed, "Oh, my Mekhala is not here." What's that? Yes. In her haste, she had left it in the Vilas Kunj. This Mekhala is very dear to Krishna, who always wants to play with it and tighten it on Srimati Radhika's waist. Now she feared as follows, quote, if all the other Sakis come to know that I have forgotten my Mekhala there, they will surely joke about me. Silently, therefore, by her eyes, she called Tulsi Manjari. That's also Raghunath Das Goswami. He has two names, Rati Manjari and Tulsi Manjari. She called with her eyes, she called Tulsi Manjari and indicated to her in such a way that no one else could hear. I have forgotten that Pranayi Mekhala in the Kunja. Without letting the others know, silently go there and bring it to me. Now Rupa Manjari always watches every movement of Srimati Radhika, and she was silent and did not speak about it to anyone, but she also knew the fact that the Mekhala was missing. Tulsi Manjari told the other Manjaris, I'm going to bring some flowers. I'll come back very soon. Saying this, she took a basket and went to the Kunja. And when she returned, all the Sakis were dancing, singing, or otherwise engaged. She very skillfully sat near Srimati Radhika, and without anyone seeing, she bound the Mekhala around her waist. Srimati Radhika was very pleased and said, oh, you did it so well, and that not even Krishna, Lalita, and Vishaka have seen that my Mekhala was missing. If they had noticed, they certainly would have made many jokes about me, and I would have been so embarrassed. You have protected my honor. Srimati Radhika at once joined the other gopis and began to dance for Krishna.
That's what Shamarani Didi's Kunja Kirtan painting is about.
Ah, you mean the final one that she was doing?
Specifically about this.
Wow, okay.
You can see, like,
Yeah.
You can see it.
Ah, okay. So now, Rupa Manjari speaks the third verse. Because the third verse that we're reading is actually Rupa Manjari. And Rupa Manjari is speaking to who? Rati Manjari. So when this Leela was over, Rati Manjari met with Rupa Manjari, who then spoke this shloka. Raghunath Das Goswami has quoted this as a blessing from Rupa Goswami, his Siksha Guru. Here, Siksha Guru means Saki Guru. He quoted it as it is, not changing a single word or a single letter, just as Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has done in that Anarpita Chirancharat verse. We pray to Krishna. How do we pray to Krishna? We say, Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindho, Dina Bandho, Jagatpate, Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namostute. This shloka is not our own. It is from one of our acharyas, and yet we utter it as if it were ours. This principle is true with all the stavas and all the stutis that we chant. Stavas means prayers and stutis means like hymns. So Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is stringing together a garland of flower-like prayers to offer to Srimati Radhika. In this garland, he is keeping one flower, the third, as a blessing from his guru, his Saki, who is very near and dear to Rati Manjari. This explains why we find a shloka addressing Rati Manjari among the prayers written by Rati Manjari herself, because she would not write a shloka with her own name in it. So that's why I said, who is speaking this? Right? Someone else is speaking this, not Rati Manjari, because his own name as Rati Manjari is in the shloka, so he can't be speaking it. But now we found out everything, right? So that is the end of the third verse commentary. Now we move on to the fourth verse of Sri Vilapa-kusumanjali. Prabhur api yadunandano ya esha, priya yadunandana unnata prabhava, swayam atula kripam ritabhishekam, mama kritavam tamaham gurum prapadye. Now, Raghunath Das Goswami is addressing to his guru. Let me surrender to my spiritual master, Yadunandan Acharya, being a powerful and dear devotee of the Supreme Lord. He sprinkled the nectar of his mercy upon me. So now this is the fourth verse, and now as he's beginning his prayer, he now directly offers his prayers to his guru. So Gurudev's commentary begins with the topic, one soul, two identities. As previously mentioned, the first three shlokas of Sri Vilapa-kusumanjali, they were of Siddha Swarup. Now in the fourth shloka, Raghunath Das Goswami has come to external consciousness, and he offers a prayer to his Diksha Guru, Srila Yadunandan Acharya. We should know that his two bodies are not like ours. In one, he is a Parishad, he is an associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and in the other, he is an associate of Srimati Radhika and Krishna Chandra conjugal. He has two avesh, eternal egos or identities. As Raghunath Das Goswami, he considers himself the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as Rati Manjari, he considers himself the maidservant of Srimati Radhika. Both his identities are eternal siddha-dehas and correct to the extreme. Raghunath Das Goswami received so much love directly from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His identity as Raghunath Das is not less than his identity as Rati Manjari. Our present identities, however, are temporary and false. Our present identities, they are temporary and false, in contrast to his fully spiritual aveshas. Avesha means sense of identity. In millions upon millions of births, there is no guarantee that we will have the excellent abhimans or self-conceptions that he possesses. In the previous verses, Raghunath Das Goswami was in Krishna Lila as an associate there in the previous three verses. He's in Krishna Lila, not in Gaur Lila. Now he is absorbed in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Lila and how he achieved his blessings, Mahaprabhu's blessings. So the person who helped him should be Vishramba Guru Seva. Oh wait, no, I skipped a page, sorry. The person who helped him reach the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are of great importance to him, and he is very indebted to them. The first person to give him help was Yadunandan Acharya, by whose help he was able to go to Mahaprabhu in Puri and receive his love. Therefore, although he is speaking in his external consciousness, this prayer is not of less importance. So we all heard that story, that Raghunath Das Goswami wanted to escape, right? Escape from who?
His family.
Yeah? And what was happening to him? What did his family do to him?
Hit him under lock and key, under
Guards. That's right. And he wanted to escape, but he found no way. But then, after he met Lord Nityananda, and Lord Nityananda gave his blessings, that very soon you will be able to go to Mahaprabhu, then this situation arose that his guru, Yadunandan Acharya, came there. Yes. Yadunandan Acharya came to Raghunath Das Goswami in the evening. And he said, I have a problem at the ashram that one devotee who is doing the Thakur Seva has left. So I need to solve that, right? And so then the guards, they knew that he's with his guru, so they didn't suspect anything. And they left him, and he went with his guru into the forest to go there. But then in the middle of the forest, and he said, Guruji, I am now going to Puri. You see. So Yadunandan Acharya was the agent through whom he was able to go to Mahaprabhu. That's why he's mentioning and praying to him. And who is Yadunandan Acharya? He's a direct associate of Mahaprabhu. Very exalted personality. So now, the next section is titled, Without Vaidhi Bhakti, we cannot enter Raganuga Bhakti. Important topic. We were discussing this the other day, right? This shloka is of great importance to us also. Which shloka? This fourth shloka that we're discussing. This is also of great importance to us. For, by studying it, we can understand how to behave with and how to serve our Diksha Gurus and Siksha Gurus who are helping us in Vaidhi Bhakti also. So, who are those persons? Prabhupada, Gurudev. They're helping us also in our Vaidhi Bhakti, yes? Yes. Because we're not yet capable. But Prabhupada especially wrote the books and gave all the instructions and established the society, and we lived in a society in which the devotees are executing regulative bhakti. Vaidhi means regulation, actually. Vidhi, it comes from vidhi, rules and regulations. Vaidhi bhakti. So Gurudev is making the point that this shloka is very important for us because by studying it, we can understand how to behave with and how to serve our Diksha Gurus and Siksha Gurus who are helping us in Vaidhi Bhakti also. Those of us who are without much past samskar, those of us who are without much past samskara, what's samskara? Impressions, formed from previous life. Those of us who are without much past samskar will have to progress through Vaidhi Bhakti. There's no other alternative. Without Vaidhi Bhakti, we cannot have Raganuga Bhakti. We will have to approach a guru and hear all these truths. Who is Krishna? Who is Radhika? Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Who is Gadadhar Pandit? What is Vrindavan Dham? What is Navadvip Dham? These topics can only be heard from our Gurudev. First, we should understand the word meanings for this shloka. He is saying, Prabhur api yadunandano ya esha priya yadunandana unnata prabhava. So, Yadunandan, the name Yadunandan, refers to Nandanandan, Krishna. He is Yadunandan also. Yadu can have two meanings. One, Yadava, is Nanda Baba. And the other is Vasudev. Devamidha Muni of the Yadu dynasty had two sons. Oh, wait. So that's the sentence. So again, Yadunandan refers to Nandanandan, Krishna. Yadu can have two meanings. One Yadava is Nanda Baba and the other is Vasudev, right? Vasudev. So here's the history. Deva Midha Muni of the Yadu dynasty had two sons, Parjanya and Shurasena. Shurasena was born from the Kshatriya wife. Kshatriya wife of who? Deva Midha Muni. So Shurasena was born from the Kshatriya wife and Parjanya from his Gopa wife. Who's Parjanya? Parjanya is the father of Nanda Maharaj and his brothers. Parjanya. So Parjanya and Shurasena. So Shurasena was born from the Kshatriya wife and Parjanya from his Gopa wife. Vasudev took his birth from Shurasena and Nanda Baba from Parjanya. So in this way, both Vasudev and Nanda Baba are members of the Yadu dynasty. Here, Yadunandan does not refer to Vasudev's son, but to Nanda's son. Because our Aradhya Dev is who? Nanda Nandana.
So when you sing Yadavaya, Madhavaya, you can think.
Yeah, that's how Mahaprabhu was thinking when he's saying that. Yeah. So, because our Aradhya Dev is Nanda Nandan, we take Yadu to mean Nanda Baba. Our Goswamis like Sri Sanatan Goswami and Sri Jiva Goswami, and especially Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they have clarified this point in their commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. And whenever we find the name Devaki Putra, it refers to Yashodanandan. Devaki is one of the names of Yashoda. So then Gurudev is breaking down this shloka by its Sanskrit. Then the next two words are Prabhur Api. Prabhu is Nandanandan or Yadunandan. Api means there are two kinds of Prabhu. One is Vishai Prabhu. Who is Vishai Prabhu? Krishna. He is the object, Vishai. And the other is Ashray Prabhu, Gurudev. Yadunandan or Nandanandan Krishna is one Prabhu. And the other Prabhu is Krishna Priya. That Yadunandan, who is very dear to Krishna, so that Yadunandan, who is very dear to Krishna. That means Prabhu is Krishna Priya. The other Prabhu is Krishna Priya. That Yadunandan, who is very dear to Krishna. So that means Guru. Krishna Preshtaya. Because all his activities are to please and to serve Krishna, Ashraya Yadunandan is very dear to Vishai Yadunandan. Okay, so Sri Guru, this is Guru Tattva, Gurudev is telling. Then comes the words Unnata Prabhava. Unnata Prabhava. All of his activities, both internal and external, are so elevated, that means Unnata, means elevated, that people in general cannot understand them. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhyakanda states, Vaishnava Chinite Pare Kahara Shakati, or also Vaishnava Chinite Nahi Devara Shakati. This means, even the demigods have no power to fathom the activities of a Vaishnava. Even the demigods cannot fathom the activities of a Vaishnava. In the same way that Krishna appears not to be God when he lies, steals, or eats clay, Vaishnavas may also appear to be ordinary conditioned souls. The Vaishnava's activities are sometimes very, very hard to understand. Yadunandanacharya seemed to be an ordinary householder, not a Krishna Bhakta, but actually he came to this world only to manifest the glory of Raghunath Das Goswami. From the time Raghunath Das was simply a child, Yadunandanacharya had shown him so much love. Although he was Guru, he sometimes took him upon his lap and encouraged him to chant. He would tell Raghunath Das, say Krishna, say Hare Krishna, or say Radha Krishna. As he played lovingly with Raghunath Das, he also taught him every kind of Vaishnava Siddhanta as if in play. And therefore, the words Unnata Prabhava are used. Then, Yadunandanacharya was friends with Haridas Thakur. They were friends. So when Haridas Thakur visited the house of Raghunath Das, he surely met with Yadunandanacharya. When Gopal Chakravarti insulted Haridas Thakur in an assembly at Raghunath Das's father's house, then Yadunandanacharya took the side of Haridas Thakur and warned Raghunath's father and uncle, great misery will befall you because you are doing nothing about this incident. The Majumdar brothers, that's Hiranya and Govardhan, they're the fathers and uncle of Raghunath Das. Their names are Majumdar, their surname is Majumdar and Hiranya, and Govardhan are their first names. So, the Majumdar brothers, Hiranya and Govardhan, then told this Chakravarti, who was insulting Haridas Thakur, get out of our palace and never come here again. After this, by contracting leprosy, that offender lost his nose, fingers, and toes and suffered so much. And then what happened?
Is it Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda?
I don't actually remember. But he got his limbs back. So, who is the Kripa, the mercy of Krishna? Who is the mercy of Krishna? From this shloka, we can understand that persons who have no Guru Seva or proper respect for their gurus, they cannot enter into the kingdom of devotion. Guru Seva is the backbone of bhakti, and that Guru Seva should be Vishramba Guru Seva. Here, Vishramba means intimate and affectionate, in the mood of a son, or even more than a son, like a bosom friend. This term, Vishramba Guru Seva, Gurudev used to repeat it quite often. That's the relationship that disciples should have with Guru. Vishramba Bhav, very intimate. And like what? Here, Vishramba means intimate and affectionate, in the mood of a son, or even more than a son, like a bosom friend. Srila Narottam Das Thakur sings, Shri Guru Charane Rati, Aise Uttamagati, Ye Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Rati, here the word Rati is used, right? Shri Guru Charane Rati. Rati for Radha and Krishna cannot come if we have not served our Gurudev. Jiva Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami writes in his Bhakti Sandarbha that Guru Seva is not a very easy thing. For the service of Gurudev, one must give up every kind of personal freedom. I'll repeat that. For the service of Gurudev, one must give up every kind of personal freedom. We may have our mood, but the Guru may have another. In order to fulfill his order, we may have to change our mood, and sometimes it becomes so hard to do so. If one can change, he He is surely a true servant and devotee of Gurudev. Then comes the word Swayam Atula Kripamrita Bhishekam. Kripamrita Bhishekam. Here, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami continues to glorify Yadunandan Acharya, his Gurudev, when he is in external consciousness. He says, he has helped me in various ways. He has given the bij, the seed, to love Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna. And he has watered it by his Harikatha. So Raghunath Das Goswami is very priya, very dear to Yadunandan Acharya. Swayam, the word Swayam means himself, and Atula means no comparison. So his mercy is such that it has no comparison. Kripamrita Bhishekam, by that mercy, he has always showered and nourished me in order to increase my love for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mama Kritavams, he has given such kripa, mercy to me. Tamaham prapadye, to that Yadunandan Acharya, who is my guru, I surrender. So here he's quoting from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 1, verse 44. Yadyapi amar guru Chaitanya das, tatapi janiye ame tahara prakash. What does this mean? This means Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has written, I know that my guru is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's servant, yet I also know that he is a manifestation of Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sakshadaриtvena samashta shastre ruktastata bhavyadeva sadhvi kintu prapuya priya eva tasya vande guru sri charanarvindam. Quote, the spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities, and therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hari, Krishna. So Jiva Goswami, and this is, I'm ending now the class, this is coming to the end of this purport. Jiva Goswami has written in his Bhakti Sandarbha, Shuddha Bhaktas Tveke Shri Guru Shri Shivas Cha Bhagavata Maha Beda Drishtim Tat Priyatama Tve Naiva Manyaste. Well, this is a very interesting point. Jiva Goswami has written in his Bhakti Sandarbha. He says, Mahadev and Guru are abhinna, non-different, from Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shuddha Bhaktas Tveke Shri Guru Shri Shivasya Cha Bhagavata Mahabeda Drishtim Tat Priyatama Te Naiva Manyaste. Mahadev, meaning Lord Shiva, and Guru, they are non-different. They are abhinna. They are abhinna from Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's what the word Sakshad Hari Tvena Samashta Shastri means. So here abhinna means very near and dear to Krishna. Although the meaning is non-different, but it means very near and dear to Krishna. Gurudev is an unparalleled servant of Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this connection, abhinna means that he is the ashraya, not the vishaya. You know the difference? Ashraya and vishaya? You should know this. This is a very basic terminology in rasa terminology.
Enjoyed.
No.
Shelter? No.
Ashraya does mean shelter, yeah. What does vishaya mean? In the realm of praying, And in the realm of Rasa Tattva, Vishai means the object of everyone's praying. So Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, is the Vishai Bhagavan. But there's another Ashraya Bhagavan. Now, Prabhupada used the term Servitor Godhead, remember? Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead, that means Ashraya. Ashraya means shelter. And Ashraya means the abode of that love. The abode of the love is the devotee. Srimati Radhika is the topmost Ashraya Vigraha. She's referred to as the Ashraya Vigraha. And all gurus and they all represent her position of Ashraya. So, Jiva Goswami states, in this connection, Abhinna means that he is the Ashraya. Abhinna, we're talking about Sri Guru as being non-different than Krishna and Mahaprabhu. So Abhinna means that he is the Ashraya, not the Vishaya. Guru never becomes Vishaya. He is not Krishna, but he is as the Ashraya. So it is by his love, Guru's love and service, that Gurudev is described as a manifestation of Krishna. So why do we say that Guru is a manifestation of Krishna? Because Guru's love and service is so topmost. Therefore, we describe him as a manifestation of Krishna. Then the final paragraph, Jiva Goswami states that sometimes a doubt arises. Since one cannot attain all perfection by serving Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so there may be a doubt that arises that one can attain all perfection by serving Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why serve Gurudev? This is the doubt that may arise. That one can attain all perfection by serving Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why serve Gurudev? And the response is that Gurudev is the Kripa of Krishna. He is the manifestation of the mercy of Krishna. Karunya Gana Ganatvam. Where's that from? Samsara Dava Nalaviza Loka Trinaya Karunya Gana Ganatvam. He is the solid, thick Kripa of Krishna, like a rain cloud. Without mercy, we cannot do anything. Without what?
Mercy.
Then what? Without mercy, we cannot do anything. Without Krishna's mercy, how can we attain Krishna? Certainly we must serve our Gurudev, our Siksha Guru, or any Vaishnava who has encouraged and helped us to proceed towards Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This was the fourth flower. 4 flowers have now been given. So each verse is a flower. And Raghunath Das Goswami is making this garland of Sri Vilapa-kusumanjali, flower offerings of lamentation in mood of separation. For Premanandi.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah. Take the mic.
We're reading how the spiritual master's activities are very difficult to understand. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam, in purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that it appears that the spiritual master may be engaged in material activities, but he does that just to engage the conditioned souls in Krishna's service.
Yes. Good point. Just like Gurudev explained once, that we celebrate the appearance and the disappearance days of our acharyas, right? But he says, actually the disappearance day is more important. And why is that? You remember what he told? He says, because in the beginning of the devotee's life, it is not noticed what contributions he will make and his exalted nature and all of that. But when Sri Guru has left this world, then everyone can see he has done this, like that. You see? So, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj gave a caution to Satsvarup Maharaj, who, he was going to be writing Srila Prabhupada's biography. He was the first one, elected by the GBC and so forth to write the biography of Srila Prabhupada, which was called Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, right? But Srila Sridhar Maharaj cautioned him. He said, you should be careful when you write about his life prior to renunciation and his preaching mission and all of this. You should be careful, because it will be very easy to depict him in a mundane way. He was a businessman, he was a family man, he was this, right? So you have to be very careful when you write the biography of such personalities, because they're somewhat hidden. And we did hear the verse that was quoted from Jiva Goswami's, which the Sandarbha? The Bhakti Sandarbha. How even the demigods have a difficult time in ascertaining what the pure devotee, his actions, what he does. And then Gurudev gave the example there, that just like Krishna, he steals, he lies, he eats dirt, like this. So similarly, in the same way that Krishna appears to be doing these activities that are not befitting of his position as the Supreme, although they are, but
According to our view.
yeah. So in the same way, Sri Guru sometimes may act in a very casual way, right? But this is the test of the disciple's actual nishta, Guru nishta, because the disciple will never ever see Sri Guru in any circumstance as being a mundane personality. So, Sri Guru, when we have some intimate exchanges with him, we had a lot of this opportunity with our Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, being with him and going swimming in the ocean and, like drying off on the bank and like all of dressing himself, all these things, But these activities and exchanges were so sweet, because none of us had even one iota of doubt that we were with a personality of the highest caliber, pure devotee, Mahabhagavat, Did it end already?
It's about to, I think.
Okay, so...
Last 5% left.
Okay, so like this, there's one verse that Prabhupada quite often quotes in his purports, which is written by Narottam Das Thakur in one of his songs. It says, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra, Vigyeya na bhujai. Here the word Vigyeya means very learned, very realized persons, Vigyeya. But even for them, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra. Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra means the symptoms and the activities of a pure Vaishnava. Vigyeya na bhujai. Even those persons cannot fully comprehend and understand them. You see. So he is the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead, right? So we'll end with that. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami Pada Ki Jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Pada Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudeva Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Vilapa-kusumanjali ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubheva cha, Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo